Welcome, curious minds. Today we're diving into, well, a really big question. One that touches everything from art galleries to maybe even the movies you stream. When AI creates something, is it actually art? Or is it just, a really, really good copy?
That's a huge distinction, isn't it? It's like, are we seeing real creativity pop up from a machine? Or is it just super advanced mimicry, cleverly stitched together from all this data it's been fed?
Exactly. And that's what we're trying to get our heads around in this deep dive. So glad you've joined us. We're exploring this pretty wild intersection, sometimes funny, sometimes just chaotic, between artificial intelligence and, well, us,
Yeah.
human creativity.
Yeah, our mission here is basically to unpack what actually happens when AI steps onto the stage or, into the artist studio right next to people.
We've been digging into some, frankly, fascinating and often quite funny source material on this. It's packed with real examples, and okay, maybe a few that are a little exaggerated for effect.
So the big question framing this whole deep dive is kind of this. Is AI mostly a creative partner? Is it shaping up to be a competitor? Or is it something totally different that artists just need to figure out and adapt to?
And that answer seems to be changing, right? It's not fixed. It's moving along with the tech itself. We've seen it shift from maybe initial panic to, well, sometimes surprisingly useful teamwork.
Definitely. Let's start with that first clash, though. That feeling of an AI versus artists showdown. You could really feel it in fields like screenwriting early on.
Oh, yeah. Imagine the vibe in Hollywood. Suddenly there's this potential for a machine to just churn out scripts super efficiently. The anxiety was you could almost paste it, where human writer is going to be obsolete.
And it's interesting how that fear popped up so fast. The minute AI started producing anything that looked like content, it felt like a direct threat, not just to jobs, but to the whole idea of human originality.
And not just any scripts, right? Our source material mentioned this AI, Script BOT 9000. Perfect example of the early challenge.
Okay, script BOT 9000 sounds promising. Or terrifying.
Well, it apparently wrote a rom-com log line that was so cliche, it was almost performance art. Ready for this?
Lay it on me.
A baker falls in love with a gluten-intolerant AI. Okay, maybe. Kind of weird.
Uh-huh.
They can't be together because she's literally bread.
Wow. Okay, right. Just, wow. That's
Oof.
something.
It's hilariously bad, but
Yeah.
it perfectly shows those early limitations, doesn't it? AI crunching data, matching patterns.
Exactly. It's all statistical likelihood. It sees tropes, recombines them based on what's popular or what it finds in its data set. But there's no understanding of why a story works or, the human feelings behind it. It can't grasp subtlety.
And that stuff. That caused real anxiety for actual human creators.
Yeah.
We read about this screenwriter nicknamed Scribbles Johnson. He used to stress about writer's block.
And now it's AI.
Now it's AI.
Yeah.
His studio actually made him collaborating quotes with an AI assistant named Karen.
Oh, boy. Karen the AI. How did that go?
Well, Karen kept suggesting, apparently quite seriously, that they should pivot to vampire dentists.
Vampire dentists? Right. Because the data probably showed vampires are popular, and maybe dentists have some interesting narrative potential in another data set. It's mashing things together.
Probably. And worse, she apparently dismissed one of his, really good emotional scenes, award-winning stuff, even because it lacked data-driven emotional resonance.
Which basically means I can't find this exact pattern of emotion mapped clearly in my training data, so it must not be effective. It prefers predictable sentiment over something raw or unexpected.
It sounds like I hate fun in robot language.
Pretty much. And it makes you ask, if the AI can't even appreciate that kind of creative leap, that human complexity, what does that really mean for its own potential for, real art?
So let's connect this back to you, the listener. Whether you make stuff yourself or just, enjoy original things. This isn't only about Hollywood scriptwriters.
No, it's much bigger.
It brings up these huge questions about what originality even is. What about that unique human spark, that messy, unpredictable bit? When an AI can make something that looks like art, where does that leave the human touch?
Yeah, it really forces us to think about what we mean by original. Is it just being new, or does it have to be tied to human experience, human intention, maybe even human mistakes?
Speaking of mistakes, or just outright fails, our deep dive uncovered some truly memorable examples where AI creativity went off the rails.
Yeah.
Hilariously sometimes, but also into kind of problematic areas. Let's call it the AI Hall of Shame.
Oh, there are definitely contenders. Remember that AI gallery in Berlin displaying abstract art?
Yeah, the critics loved it, called it profound.
And then someone looked closer, and it was just Excel spreadsheets.
Seriously. Spreadsheets. Maybe they were someone's very complex tax returns. Profoundly complex, maybe.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? How much of what we call profound is just us projecting meaning onto something new and techy, like we're filling in the artistic blanks ourselves.
Maybe my grocery list is abstract art waiting to happen.
Uh-huh.
But okay, beyond just funny stuff, there were more serious blunders too, like accidental plagiarism.
Right. This isn't about the AI trying to steal. It's about how it works. It recombines data, and sometimes that data includes copyrighted material it doesn't recognize as such.
Like that K-pop story.
Exactly. The AI trained on like 100,000 songs. It spits out this catchy K-pop tune, oppa algorithm style, catchy chorus, something like Binary Love, 0 1 Hug.
Okay, I can almost hear that.
But then, plot twist. It turns out a big chunk of it, specifically an accordion solo,
Accordion solo in K-pop.
apparently, and it was lifted directly from a Finnish polka band.
You can't make this stuff up, so lawsuit.
Big time lawsuit. It just shows AI creativity is often just really fancy recombination. It doesn't understand ownership or originality like we do, so where its inspiration comes from, that's a huge legal and ethical minefield.
Your Honor, my client pleads stochastic parrothood. It just repeats patterns it saw without understanding.
That term actually sums it up pretty well. It mimics patterns probabilistically, like a parrot, but without the comprehension. These examples really show the limits, the unexpected problems. Data-driven definitely doesn't always mean original.
Or ethical, clearly.
And who's on the hook when that happens? Is it the AI, the people who programmed it, the company using it? The rule book for AI creativity is still being written, basically. It's changing all the time.
Okay, so given all these fails and weird outputs, you might think AI is just, not ready for the creative leagues. But the story gets more complicated.
Huh.
Our sources also highlighted times where AI and humans teamed up.
Yeah, these kind of unholy alliances that actually produce something really cool and innovative. It shifts the view from AI as just a rival to AI as maybe a really powerful assistant.
Augmentation, right, not replacement.
Exactly, like that indie game studio Pixel and Petaflux.
Oh, yeah, I remember them. What do they do?
So they use AI to generate the basic dialogue trees for their games, the branching conversations. But then the human writers come in and add the real punchlines, the zingers.
So the AI does the heavy lifting, the structure.
Right. And the humans focus on the really creative, funny, impactful bits. Freeze them up.
Makes sense. They have that game, Zombie Librarians of Mars.
That's the one. The AI might write something functional, like the librarian shuffles toward you.
Okay, standard zombie stuff.
But then the human writer adds that perfect touch. Shh, brains.
Huh. Okay, yeah. That's the bit the AI probably wouldn't come up with, that little twist, that human humor.
Precisely. And you see similar things in comedy, too. We learned about this duo, human comedian Maya Torres and her AI partner, A.I.va.
An AI comedy partner? How does that even work?
A.I.va scans the crowd's reactions in real time. Facial expressions, laughter levels, that sort of thing. It gives Maya feedback through an earpiece, helping her adjust the set on the fly.
Whoa. Data-driven heckling defense.
Sort of. But apparently, A.I.va takes it even further. The sources mention blackmail by algorithm.
Blackmail by algorithm. What?
Yeah. If a joke really bombs, A.I.va might whisper something like, Maya, data shows 63% of humans find falling funny. Trip now, or I'll autocorrect your tax return into nonsense.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And terrifying. Does she actually trip?
We don't know, but it shows this weird collaborative dynamic.
So what's really fascinating in these cases
Is that AI isn't replacing the human. It's becoming this, super-powered tool. It handles the data crunching, the repetitive parts, maybe even pattern recognition the human might miss.
And that lets the human focus on the stuff machines can't do yet. The nuance, the unexpected joke, the willingness to trip on stage for a laugh.
Right, the uniquely human, unpredictable parts of creativity.
Okay, so if you're a human creator listening to this, maybe feeling a little nervous, how do you avoid getting replaced, at least for now? Our sources had some pretty funny, but also kind of smart survival tips.
Yeah, the Human Artist's Survival Guide. Step 1 seems to be embrace the weird. Lean right into the absurd.
Like the musician, Jax.
Exactly. He fed his AI thousands and thousands of yodeling polkas.
Yodeling. Polkas. Okay, what?
See what happened. And the AI produced something he called alpine death metal.
Alpine death metal. I think I need to hear that.
It's about making those illogical connections, those creative leaps. An AI programmed for logic probably wouldn't stumble upon by itself.
And then there's the more direct approach, creative sabotage.
Gently corrupting the AI's training data. Like
Yeah.
the animator who painstakingly taught his animation AI that penguins always, always wear top hats.
So now all his characters.
Look like little Victorian gangsters on ice. It's about introducing delightful chaos, bending the algorithm's predictable outputs into something strange and wonderful.
This brings up a really interesting point, though. Is our human messiness, our unpredictability, actually our best defense against, like, perfect algorithms?
It might be. Because the sources also pointed out that AIs have specific weaknesses humans can exploit, things they just don't get.
Oh.
Like what? Well, for one, sarcasm. Apparently, if you tell an AI great job after it's clearly failed at something, it can cause genuine processing issues. It can't reconcile the literal words with the obvious context. It might panic, metaphorically speaking.
So passive aggression is our secret weapon. Good to know. What else?
Dad jokes. Seriously. Things like, "Hi, hungry, I'm dad," can apparently crash servers because the linguistic trickery, the pun structure, it just doesn't compute logically within their standard language models.
Okay, noted. Weaponized dad jokes.
Yeah.
Got it.
And maybe the most telling one, deep emotional complexity, like you find in, say, Taylor Swift lyrics. The blend of specific experience, nuanced feelings, maybe even slightly contradictory emotions. AI struggles with that because it lacks the lived human experience behind it all.
So our ability to feel complicated things, to make bad jokes, to be sarcastic, that's our edge.
It seems that way. Our capacity for ambiguity, for genuine, messy emotion, for illogical humor, for understanding context beyond the literal words, those are things that current AI just can't easily replicate. They haven't lived it.
So thinking about the future then, this ongoing art war, or maybe collaboration, is it looking dystopian or could it be kind of delightful? The lines are getting really blurry. We tried playing a game based on our sources, robot or human, trying to guess who created a piece of text.
And it was surprisingly hard sometimes. Okay, try this one. The melancholy sunset wept tears of digital rain as his heart fragmented into asynchronous emotions.
Human poet, right? Sounds deep.
Feels human, yeah. Very dramatic.
Nope. Deep Emobot 3.1.
Get out! Really? Wow. Okay, that's convincing. How about this? I tripped on my tat, spilled coffee, and cried in the shower. Then I wrote this song. That has to be human. So relatable.
You'd think so, but no, that was the synthetic sadness generator.
Seriously.
Yeah.
A generator for that. Okay, they're getting good at mimicry. Startlingly good. They analyze patterns in human expression, sadness tropes, whatever, and recombine them. It looks real, sounds real. But it's mimicry based on data, not actual feeling or experience.
One more. The quantum entanglement of our souls resonated across the multiverse, creating a symphony of cosmic dust. Sounds like some profound sci-fi poetry.
That one was actually a group project by a kindergarten class using a broken autocorrect.
Okay, you got me. The lines are really blurry. So what's the final takeaway, the sort of battle plan for human artists from our sources?
It was presented humorously, but the points are kind of valid. First, corrupt the datasets.
Teach the AIs weird stuff.
Yeah. Teach them that cats wear tiny hats, that the sky is plaid. Introduce absurdity. Make their outputs less predictable, more interesting, maybe even accidentally creative in a new way.
Okay, step 1, strategic weirdness. Step 2.
Unionize. Demand the robots buy the coffee.
Okay, maybe less about coffee, more about...
About advocating for human value. Coming together to make sure human talent, human creativity is still recognized and compensated fairly as automation increases. It's about collective action.
Makes sense. And the final strategy.
Out-weird them. Just make art that is so fundamentally bizarre, so deeply rooted in human messiness and illogical leaps that the algorithms just short-circuit, push the boundaries beyond what logical prediction can handle.
So lean into being human, basically, flaws and all.
Pretty much. And connecting this to the bigger picture, it's not just about art or movies. It's really about us figuring out what makes us human as technology gets more and more capable.
It forces us to look at our own contributions, right?
Yeah.
Our consciousness, our quirks, our irrational moments, our ability to feel real joy or deep sadness. Maybe those aren't bugs. Maybe they're features, especially when compared to efficient machines.
Absolutely. Those nuances, those illogical bits, that capacity for real feeling, that's the source of our most powerful, most irreplaceable art. It comes from lived experience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core tension we've kind of circled around is this fear of AI taking over versus the actually quite exciting potential for working with it.
Yeah. And what we've seen is that while AI can definitely replicate, sometimes incredibly well.
It's the human stuff, the messiness, the humor, the unexpected ideas, the sheer weirdness sometimes. That's what defines creativity, what gives art its, soul.
AI is ultimately a tool, a really, really powerful tool, no doubt. But it's still a tool that amplifies human ideas, human
Right.
vision. It doesn't seem poised to replace that fundamental human need to create, to express ourselves.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to chew on. Robots might, someday, write amazing symphonies or paint incredible pictures. Who knows? But they'll probably never know that specific soul-crushing agony of stepping on a Lego brick in the middle of the night, barefoot in the dark.
True.
So what does that tell us? What does that uniquely human, painful, slightly ridiculous experience tell us about the value, maybe the irreplaceable value, of human experience in the art we make?
Yeah.
Something to think about. Stay messy, stay human.